Some Pokemon cards were made to sit quietly in a binder, clean, balanced, and easy to forget. And then there's the ones you never forget, the ones that made you beg for just one more booster pack, that made a whole schoolyard go crazy when somebody pulled it. A fire-breathing dragon, wings open, caught mid-roar breathing fire, or a little yellow mouse with cheeks just a little too round. You already know these cards. You've known them your entire life, but you probably never knew the man who drew them. One artist, nearly 30 years. The cards that started it all, and the one that's still your favorite. This is Mitsuhiro Arita. If you grew up trading Pokemon cards behind the gym in the late 90s, you were holding his work in your hands. You just didn't know his name yet. Arita has been drawing Pokemon cards since literally the beginning, the dawn of Pokemon, the very first set, capitalizing on the hype of the show and the very first set of games. And here's the thing that makes Arita different from almost everyone else in this series. Most illustrators found their lane and they stayed in it. Arita, however, has helped build the road. The idea that a Pokemon card could show a real creature in a real place, doing something real. That idea basically started with him. So let's talk about how a self-taught kid who sculpted dinosaurs out of clay ended up drawing the most famous trading card on the planet. Mitsuhiro Arita was born in 1970 in Fukuoka, Japan. As a kid, he'd sit with his dad and sculpt dinosaurs out of clay, draw them, shape them, and turn them around in his hands. And honestly, that little detail explains a lot about his art. Because before he ever drew a Pokemon flat on a card, he was already thinking about how a creature sits in space and how it has weight. Here's the part that surprises people though. Arita never actually went to art school. He's completely self-taught. At university, he studied engineering, electrical, software, the technical stuff. He'd even done some pixel art for a game project back in high school. The artist and the engineer were always kind of tangled together in him. And then came the fork in the road. In his third year of university, his dad offered him the family business, a safe path, a guaranteed future. However, he said no. And his reasoning is honestly kind of beautiful. He figured if he took a safe option and it went wrong, he'd always have an excuse. It really wasn't his choice. He wanted a career where if he failed, it was entirely on him. So he went freelance. No training, no portfolio, no safety net. And the first 3 years nearly broke him. He took every job he could find in any style, any genre, and at one point, he was barely getting by. But taking every job in different styles slowly turned him into exactly the artist the card game world was about to need. (1996). A colleague named Keiji Kinabuchi invites Arita onto a strange little project, a trading card game, based on a couple of Game Boy RPGs that weren't even finished yet. Think about how wild that is. There was no anime, no movies, no billion-dollar franchise. The only reference he had for these creatures was tiny, blurry Game Boy sprites. He didn't know if the game would sell. He literally said he was already worried about finding his next job before this one even ended. But not knowing turned out to be a gift, because there were no rules yet, no canon, no brand guide. Nobody had decided what a Pokemon card was supposed to look like. So Arita literally just decided himself. He even designed the very first energy symbols. The little type icons you've seen tens of thousands of times. Fire, water, grass, all of it. That was all him as well. And then he drew Charizard and a Pikachu. And that right there would follow him for the rest of his life. Here's what almost nobody else was doing in 1996. Most illustrators put the Pokemon on a plain background. Clean, simple, almost like a catalog photo. Arita, however, went to the developers and asked questions. Where does this thing live? What's around it? What does it do all day? So, his Nidorino stands on a canyon rock, his Dragonair curls under an aurora, and suddenly these aren't characters floating on white anymore. They're creatures in a whole world. He said it himself, he wants his cards to feel like a nature documentary, like you're watching a wild Pokemon that doesn't know the camera's there. And there's this one little detail I love. He talks about drawing a Charmander looking at its own tail flame. Curious, a little unsure, like it's just now figuring out the flame is a part of it. That's not a pose, that's a tiny story on a card. His colors do something sneaky too. Early on, a designer told him a forest doesn't have to be green, and Arita ran with that. His forests go deep purple sometimes, not because forests are purple, but because purple makes a yellow Pikachu pop off the card. The color is there to serve the creature, not to copy real life. And then there's how he makes them. Most people would assume it's all digital now. Well, it isn't. Arita still starts every card in pencil. Real graphite on real paper. White pencil for highlight. Gouache to block in his color regions. And only after all that does it get scanned and then finished on the computer. And he has a real reason for it. He says digital tools let you undo forever, so you never really commit to a line. And when nothing costs you anything, the art loses its tension. Pencil makes him mean it. So when you look closely at an Arita card, that smooth digital finish is sitting on top of a real hand-drawn foundation. You can feel it, even if you can't quite see it. Real quick, if you're enjoying this one, drop a like and a subscribe. It genuinely helps these get made. And if you've got an Arita card in your collection, tell me which one down in the comments below. I promise I read all of them. Okay, now back to the show. There are around 80 official Pokemon card illustrators, and the people who make the game want them all to look different. They want variety, they want personality. Arita has this great way of describing his freedom. He says he's allowed to step half a step outside the lines. Not a full step, you can't break what makes it a Pokemon card, but a half step? That's where the artist gets to live. After you've drawn the same Pikachu 100,000 times, that little half step is everything. And the way fans react to him says it all. He signs these cards at events all over the world. He's told this one story about a fan overseas who handed him a beat up, slightly folded common card. Not a rare card, not a chase card, just the first Pokemon card they ever got as a kid. They'd kept it for 20 years. And another one of a kid who asked him to sign the back of the card so the signature wouldn't get in the way when they actually played with it. That's the relationship he has with people. It wasn't ever about value. It was always about the memory. So let's start where everyone starts. Base set Charizard. Wings thrown open, mid-motion, and mid-roar. Arita will actually tell you this isn't his most technically advanced work. He's improved a lot since 1996. But he also says something that stuck with me. People still walk up to him and say this is their favorite card he's ever made. 20 plus years of drawing, and it's the first one that won. He thinks that's kind of amazing, and quite frankly, so do I. And then there's Pikachu. And look at how round he is. Chubby cheeks, an adorable little body. This version of Pikachu defined the character for a whole generation. You still see that pudgy throwback Pikachu show up in modern cards today. Now, if you want to see Arita at the peak of his atmosphere, look at the Umbreon from Aquapolis. It's night. Umbreon is perched up on a European rooftop, those yellow rings glowing in the dark, and the hollow foil isn't just slapped on top, it's built into the scene, like moonlight on the tiles. This is the kind of card that rewards you for looking closer. It doesn't just feel like a game piece, it feels like a moment you just walked in on. Now, let's jump forward to the Sun and Moon era, and you get the tag team cards. 2 Pokemon sharing one piece of art. And Arita drew the vast majority of tag teams from that era. That's a brutal design problem, by the way. a card is tiny. Fitting two creatures in here at equal weight is very hard. On the Lucario and Melmetal card, he actually lets Melmetal's outline spill just slightly past the border. Technically, that's breaking the rules, but practically, it's the only thing that makes it work. And he'll also tell you a secret about the Reshiram and Charizard card. Originally, he had Reshiram breathing red fire just like Charizard. The art director, however, said make it blue because it'll look better. And boy, were they right. When you line up his cards across 30 years, one thing holds them together. He's not just drawing Pokemon, he's drawing living things. His biggest influence is Hokusai, the old master. And what Arita took from him isn't a technique, it's more so an idea. Specifically, the idea that great art captures the life spirit of a thing. Not just what it looks like, but what animates it. There's a Hokusai quote Arita takes very seriously. That Hokusai felt nothing he made before the age of 70 was any good. A whole lifetime of work, and he still called it the warm-up. Arita treats his own career the same way. 30 years in, most famous card artist alive. And yet, he still talks like he's laying the foundation. Like the good stuff is still ahead. A few things about Arita that don't fit on a card. He has a habit he calls mobile painting. He sketches constantly while he travels, especially on trains. He says the shaking actually helps. It forces him to solve the drawing fast. He keeps a little sketchbook in his pocket at all times, but he won't force it. No daily quota. He only draws when he actually wants to, because that's when it ends up being good. And his rule for inspiration is strict. It can't come from movies or music or other art. It has to come from life. He once spent about 3 years just studying snow piling up, snow settling, and snow melting before he ever trusted himself to put snow into a Pokemon card. Now, outside of Pokemon, he's been everywhere. 11 years of art for Final Fantasy XI, concept design on the Berserk Golden Age movies, around 100 cards for the Cold Sip series, and even a card for Magic the Gathering. And who's his favorite Pokemon? Well, none other than Mewtwo. So here's what Arita means to me. His is the one art style that's been here from the very beginning and just keeps evolving over time. Arita's art has always been and always will be timeless, and no other illustrator makes me feel this nostalgic. To me, he's a pioneer. He was building environments and telling stories with Pokemon cards before anyone else was even trying it. What stands out to me the most is the sheer amount of storytelling packed into every single card, and that unique style that he carries from one illustration to the next. You can always just tell when it's an Arita art. In my opinion, picking a favorite art is almost impossible. But if you made me choose, 3 specifically come to mind. The full art Alakazam from Fates Collide, number 125 over 124. Another one is Greninja and Zoroark from Unbroken Bonds, number 107 over 214. Arita described this one as a cooperative attack. Greninja's Water Shuriken and Zoroark's Slash all combined into one strike. And last but certainly not least, the Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends, number 78 over 73. The one everyone refers as Mewtwo, where we see Mewtwo floating inside the tank it was created in. And remember, Mewtwo is Arita's favorite Pokemon, so this one isn't just a card, it's the master drawing the thing that he loves most. He did it all without art school, without a safety net, and in the beginning, without any idea this franchise would matter at all. He was just trying to get his next job. But the way he decided a Pokemon card should look in 1996 is still the way we expect them to look today. Every artist who came after him inherited his world. So the next time you pull an Arita card, don't just check the corner for the name. Look at where the Pokemon is standing, look at what it's doing, and look at the little story he hid in there just for you. because that's the whole point. That's Mitsuhiro Arita. If you made it to the end of this video, just know that I genuinely appreciate your attention and support. So much effort goes into the creation of these videos, and I hope you all can appreciate the results as much as I do. With all that said and done, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.